All right. I still have the remnants of the cough, but I won't let that stop me. I've done that enough. So, pardon in advance if you hear me coughing a little bit, or the sniffles. Today, I've decided to use a deck that I've featured often in my still shot posts, but I don't recall having done a video reading with the Santa Muerte tarot. And this one was kind of diverse. We've got some cups, we've got some swords, we've got some pentacles, no major arcana, and no swords, or wands, excuse me, which means we'll focus on these three. And I want to draw attention to some spatial relations for a moment. Of course, we know that cups often represent relationships of one sort or another. We'll let that general statement guide the meaning for you. But in this Nine of Cups, we see this ship with this treasure chest moving forward. We don't see it sitting still. We see some splashes as it cuts through some waves. That implies, to me, determined forward momentum. I've talked before about needing to evaluate relationships and relationship dynamics, which can include and should include, as we look at them, relationship with ourselves primarily, but also, significant others, friends, family, work colleagues, maybe how we interact with people in general, just our relationship with people in general. And we see things coming to a tipping point with the nine of that suit. We see things coming to a head where we can expect to see some change. Good or bad, change doesn't often feel comfortable. And as such, we should probably prepare ourselves if that hasn't happened already. Now this, if we were looking at today's reading in a time sequence, which the three card spread often does, that has probably already happened, and you can figure out what that refers to. Now, we see the thinking gentleman in the center card, the Seven of Swords. And I want to point out, look at the direction he appears to peer. He looks in the direction of that change. And we see the swords. In the Three of Swords, at least in the Rider-Waite deck and many decks that take their inspiration from it, we see three swords piercing a heart. And while we have more swords than that here, obviously, notice that they lie on the floor, somewhat ineffective at this point, not causing any pain. We don't see him using them very much either, unless we remember that swords often represent intellect, thought, and he does seem rather pensive. So I guess the lesson or the suggestion I want to derive from this particular card in relationship to the other lies in our need to reflect on things. We don't want to keep repeating situations, bad ones in particular. So we need to reflect on them and see how we can avoid building and contributing to situations and relationships that we don't want repeats of. On the other hand, if this was a good thing that didn't go so well, maybe we need to reflect and see how we can change things in the future so that we can continue to build favorable, healthy interactions with ourselves and with others of the various sorts I mentioned earlier. Now, of course, if we want to look at the future card, potential future, this doesn't exactly tell us what results we will yield from the thinking that we were doing and the application. The application comes into play in this card. We can't control other people. We can't control all aspects of a situation. However, we can control ourselves, and you'll notice, again, like the ship in the first card, we see motion. I doubt that the fellow attached to these legs in the undepicted portion of this scene has been standing still on one foot. Rather, it looks as though he wants to walk somewhere, and judging by the direction of his feet, he wants to walk away from something. He wants to move forward. Pentagrams, or pentacles, as they've chosen to call them in this deck, as I've mentioned many times before, refers to environmental factors. Not necessarily going for a walk in the woods, although I always recommend that, but the environmental factors that contribute to a relationship, which not only include the elements of the relationship as a whole, but most immediately accessible, us as individuals. So we can have an effect on things outside, as I've mentioned before, by changing and realigning things on the inside. The 5 in any of the suits, as far as my interpretations go, usually refers to a moving away from the comfort zone, the comfort of the 4s. The 5s we see a bit more clearly. We see the need to change, to move, to adapt, to adjust, which often feels somewhat uncomfortable, but necessary if we want anything to come of the thinking we've done. We can arrive at a conclusion, we can figure out exactly what we need to do, but if we don't move to change things and to adapt and to adjust, we'll keep finding ourselves in a repetitive pattern, which we generally don't want. So that said, take some time to think, take some time to reflect, not only on the past, but what you want to do and what results you want to see, and then get up and move forward. We don't know exactly what will happen, but it gives us more control over the situation and the outcome. And sometimes, although the results don't end up exactly as we'd like, we get something even better. So embrace the uncertainty, embrace the mystery, embrace the unknown, and start on the journey. Looking forward to next time. Remember, as always, if you find this interesting, insightful, or you just like the pretty pictures, share them with other people. They may find it interesting or insightful, or at the very least pleasant to look at. And so share, subscribe so you get some updates, and I'll see you next time.